George W. Bush and Dick Cheney have been convicted of war crimes. I know if you've been watching mainstream media over the last few days, you probably don't know that. This is the first verdict of its kind since George W. Bush left office. He and several members of his administration, including Dick Cheney, have been successfully convicted in absentia of war crimes in Malaysia. This happened on Friday. A 5-panel tribunal delivered a unanimous guilty verdict after a trial that lasted 1 week that was, again, not covered by American media either. The trial wasn't covered, and the verdict wasn't covered. And the witnesses included ex-Guantanamo detainees that gave testimony about their conditions and human rights violations that were systematically carried out under orders of the Bush administration. Now, here's the key thing. A lot of people are blowing this off and saying, this is not a big deal. Who cares about this? It's yet another weird, phony conviction. International war crime trials do not require the presence of the accused, and the trial was run according to the standards set by the Nuremberg trials to convict war criminals after World War II. Now, the U.S. is subject to international law, which makes this trial significant beyond just Malaysia, as the Foreign Policy Journal is reporting, that this is a tribunal that cannot enforce this verdict in the sense of taking the accused and now guilty into custody or into sentencing them. But what they can do is recommend that the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Commission submit the finding of conviction by the tribunal together to the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, as well as the UN Security Council, and the hope would then be that other individual countries would hold trials on their own and that guilty verdicts could mount up. Now, let's be honest, Lewis. We already saw George W. Bush bail on a trip to Switzerland because he's under indictment there.
Cheney avoided Canada.
Cheney avoided Canada because of similar perceived threats that existed there. You could have a situation where George W. Bush can basically travel almost nowhere outside of the U.S. For risk of getting arrested and tried.
Yeah, but do we really think this is going to spread around the European nations, nations of the UN? I really doubt it.
I don't know, but I'm fascinated to know what George W. Bush is thinking. You have to assume, even though
he's probably laughing about it.
I don't know. I think George W. Bush, when he hears about this, is probably meeting with lawyers and saying, what does this mean to me, and what shouldn't I do as a result of this?
He's probably on a ranch somewhere in Texas.
Using the Google.
Using the Google, twiddling his thumbs, riding around on his buggy, laughing about this.
I don't know about that. I think that this, if he gets a couple more of these, there's more and more of the world that he's going to have to avoid.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I hope it continues to happen.
Let's take a break. Facebook.com/David Pakman Show. Join us on Facebook. Almost 4,000 likes, Lewis. That's pretty remarkable.
Getting there.
All right, we'll take a break and be back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.